Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I've got 3 stories to share with you in this latest Moon Lambo hot jam. Starting with this one, here's the headline from the Crypto Basic. Here are top signs that Ripple is preparing to go public with an IPO. Now, the thing about that is they're not, and I will explain why. But I'll explain some of the speculation as to why. But attorney Jeremy Hogan covered this publicly. He's the first person I've seen publicly speak out about this. And so at the time I'm recording this, crypto media hasn't picked this up yet. There's just a bunch of stories talking about why there will be an IPO. But I'm here to tell you emphatically, there will not be an IPO, not anytime soon anyway. There is also this headline from the Crypto Basic. Speculation suggests Google is running an XRP Ledger node. Here are facts. And this is another one where I think some people readily make too many assumptions. I'll just leave it at that for the moment. And then I'll wrap up the video by briefly speaking about Sam Bankman-Fried. Or excuse me, I said his name wrong for some reason. Scam Bank Run Fraud, SBF. As you all know, he's been found guilty on all 7 counts he was charged with in the first trial, so he's going to be going to prison for potentially as much as 110 years, but almost certainly at least X number of decades, at least a few decades. He's also got another trial coming up the first part of next year, so just going to get worse for him in all likelihood. But how many of you listening believe that SBF is going to be pardoned by United States President Joe Biden? How many of you listening believe that is probable? Well, I put a poll out there, and if you're like me, you're going to be shocked by the numbers. You're absolutely going to be shocked at how many people think SBF, who just got found guilty of these horrendous financial crimes, how many people actually think that he's just going to get off scot-free still, even though that just happened because of a presidential pardon. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so as far as this first story goes about the Ripple IPO, no need to really read through this actual article. They're just giving reasons why they thought that the Ripple IPO is probably going to happen. And the speculation, actually, a lot of it, I don't even find it unreasonable. I think it's pretty clear that Ripple has had intent to have an IPO. And it's not that it necessarily wouldn't happen. I'm just telling you for sure, unquestionably, it's off the table now. And so there was a Crypto Lulu, he's Louis Jackson, he shared this post with a video on social media platform X, and he wrote, "The biggest sign of a Ripple IPO coming." And that was on November 2nd, so a couple days ago. That was reposted by attorney Jeremy Hogan, and he wrote, "Having watched Ripple at work these last 3 years, I'm a big fan. Good management team, large vision, dedicated employees, and, I guess, their CTO is okay too. That's why I am a proud Ripple pre-IPO owner. Thanks Link2." And Link2 is the firm that he obviously got that from. That's why he would be thanking them. And then he provided an update. This is just within the last few hours. He wrote, this is from attorney Jeremy Hogan, he wrote, "Well, no sooner did I repost the Signs Ripple Will IPO Soon video than a friend told me and showed me that Ripple just said that it has no plans for an IPO in the near future. So if you are looking for to own pre-IPO shares, you better have some patience." Now, I haven't talked to attorney Jeremy Hogan about this, but I will tell you that somebody showed me a document, so I would guess that it's probably the same thing that he saw. Somebody did show me in confidence proof that Ripple has decided not to move forward with an IPO at this time. And I'm not really going to say a whole lot more than that just because it was shared in confidence, and so out of respect for the individual that shared that with me, of course, I'm not going to divulge that stuff. Any conversation I have with anybody in direct message or email or anything like that, I always want to just respect the individual, and I think that's how we should operate just in society in general. The default should be, I'm not going to divulge to anyone else these conversations unless getting permission first, so I'm not going to do that. But I can absolutely verify that it does come from the very top of the company that they are not. So as far as the reasons Nobody knows that. I can tell you, and this is not speculation. This is 100% fact. I did see this with my own eyes, as did Attorney Hogan. IPO is not happening. Now this is kind of curious though, and all we can do is speculate at this point, right? So on this topic, I don't have any super duper top secret information beyond that. But recall that earlier this year, Ripple went on a roadshow. So that's what you do when you're pre-IPO and you're schmoozing and you're trying to find the investors, perhaps that they got the deep pockets. Maybe they're going to throw a little bit of change your way, and so it's basically a big sales pitch, right? And so they were doing that earlier this year. And so I think that there actually is a lot of evidence that they were going that direction. And so now we can only speculate. So why is it that the IPO for sure now isn't happening, at least in the short term? And look, and I'll say this too, just be clear. I do believe at some unknown point in the future, and it could be way out from now, I do believe there will be a Ripple IPO. I do believe that's a virtual certainty, but this is not the environment for it. So, well, why wouldn't this be the environment? I mean, we just got the big win with Ripple and, XRP having legal clarity. True, but despite that, what about what's going on with the SEC just in general? Is there an appetite for this right now? Well, thankfully, not that Ripple needs it. I mean, Ripple's been very public. The last figure I think they publicly stated that they have in terms of, on their balance sheet is $1 billion. And that was probably a couple of years ago. So suffice it to say, they've got more money than they know what to do with at this particular moment in time, right? So the good news is they don't need the IPO. They don't need to raise funds. But, the fact that this isn't going forward after they went on a roadshow, that would make you think that it's a failure. But wait a minute, how could the roadshow, where they're trying to pitch people on the idea, hey, buy into Ripple, the company, how could that have been a failure? Well, it sure as hell, I speculate, would not be because of Ripple, the company, something they're doing wrong. I think Ripple, the company, is probably going to be worth a fortune, and I don't own any. But and I also think XRP is going to be worth a fortune. That's my. Well, you guys know that about me, right? Have you heard I own XRP? But it could purely be because of the environment. I mean, look at what happened with Coinbase. There's still a fight going on there. There is a certain level of uncertainty. So the question would be, is this the right time? And so it's not even necessarily something negative about Ripple per se. In fact, I'd be shocked if that's the case, because Ripple's a great company, obviously, and I do think it's going to end up doing well. But I think it's just the case that we're just going to have to wait a little bit longer to see something like that. So if you're counting on that impacting the price of XRP, you're probably going to have to hold your breath and wait a little bit longer. But maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe Ripple will say something about this publicly, but I'm not necessarily counting on that. And they don't owe us anything either, And then there was also this from the Crypto Basics. Speculation suggests Google is running an XRP ledger node. Here are the facts. Audible sigh. Speculation is rife within the XRP community, as some community figures suggest that multinational technology giant Google might have begun running an XRP ledger node. Edward Farina, head of social adoption at XRP Healthcare, first made these claims in a recent post on X. Farina shared a screenshot detailing a list of computers running XRPL nodes, the version of XRPL they are on, and their IP address. Notably, an IP lookup indicates that the IP address of one of the systems on the list is hosted by Google, revealing Google LLC as the Internet Service Provider, ISP, and noting that the associated organization is Google. Upon stumbling on this discovery, Farina swiftly asserted that Google had joined Microsoft to run XRPL nodes. It bears mentioning that Microsoft already runs an XRPL validating node through its Azure BaaS. I don't know if that's how it's intended to be said. It's the acronym BaaS, a blockchain as a service product. The recent discovery has triggered speculation of Google's involvement. So, upon reading this, I was instantly doing one of those eye rolls, audible sighs, face palms, all that all at once. And I'll explain why in just a second. But first of all, as far as Google having some sort of interest in Ripple and potentially XRP, that part's not crazy. In fact, that dates back to 2016 at least. Here's a headline from CNBC. September 15th, 2016, over a year before I jumped into crypto. The headline is Google-backed blockchain startup Ripple raises $55 million from big banks. And so Google's been backing Ripple from the beginning, well aware of XRP, and so it wouldn't be crazy for them if they're actually doing this. Is this actual proof, though? No, it is not. And so here's the post from Edo Farino. He wrote, boom! And the reason it took me so long to say this is because there's a lot of O's, and he's got the little bomb emoji. And he said, following Microsoft steps, more recently Google is currently running XRP on this. That's a big claim without actual evidence. I guess he just somehow thought that was evidence, but I knew instantly that there is a high probability that doesn't prove it, one way or another. And so I'm not making a claim that it is or isn't true. I'm saying that he shouldn't be making the claim that it is or isn't true. Why? Well, this article thankfully laid it out perfectly because this is exactly what was flowing through my head. There are a lot of more rational explanations than this is Google. The piece reads as follows. However, it is important to note that when the IP address of a computer running an XRP ledger node shows Google LLC as the ISP and a location pertaining to Google, it doesn't necessarily mean that Google itself is running the node. There are a few possible explanations for this. First, the user may be using a hosting service or cloud provider from Google. Many hosting providers, including Google Cloud, offer services where users can run virtual machines and applications. This can result in an association of the IP address with the hosting provider, in this case Google LLC. The individual could be using a proxy or a VPN, virtual private network, that routes their traffic through Google servers. This can make it appear as if the IP address belongs to Google. It's a common practice for privacy and security reasons. The user may be operating the XRP ledger node from a data center that leases IP addresses from Google LLC or is in a facility related to Google's infrastructure. Data centers often have IP address ranges associated with their hosting provider. Moreover, if Google was operating an XRPL node, an announcement on the development would have come up, similar to how the Microsoft case saw public disclosure. All right. So that's the type of thing that instantly went in my head. I didn't, say I were the one to come across this, my first reaction wouldn't be to think about it further and ask for verification on this. I would first think to ask for, the community, hey, just found this. Can anybody verify this, or might there be another explanation? What I wouldn't do is instead run and make the claim that it is Google running this and then write boom. I wouldn't do that. But what I keep seeing from this particular account on X is a lot of exciting sounding stuff, a lot of hype, and then I just find that it's just not grounded in reality. I don't know why he's doing it. Because I correct a lot of the stuff that he gets wrong on this channel because I just want to spread what is right. So if he's operating in good faith and not trying to just hype people and get people excited or trick people, he's sure doing a good job of fooling me if that's his intent. Because I can't explain it, but it's just so free. That's the reason you see him pop up. He's in the news all the time, citing this stuff, and thankfully, the Crypto Basic is doing a good job, certainly here, in providing rational explanations for this. But there are a lot of people that saw this stuff. That post from him on X at the time I'm recording this has 60,000 views. So yes, I feel obligated since I have a platform where I talk about XRP and the XRP ecosystem heavily. I feel obligated to correct the mistakes that are made and share my perspective in general. But certainly, like, the word got out there, and it's not adding value, right? Nothing against him on a personal level, but I wish he'd stop doing this type of stuff. He doesn't need the booms. He doesn't need the unverified stuff. He should be more curious and say, hey, I found this thing. Can you guys verify this or not? And then work as a community to get to the truth. That would be cool. That'd be cool because I don't have all the answers either. But I'm a curious enough person to know that when I find something that seems like big news, I'd ask the question to the community, hey, here's what I found. Could it be this? Might it be that? Instead of doing the boom thing. Oh, I'm sorry. The boom. Do you think I'm scaring you at first when I do that? Because I'm saying that's a really scary boo. No. You just got to wait because it's a bunch of O's in there. Wait for the letter M, and then you know it's not a boo. It's a boom. And they're like, oh, yeah. Rejoice, my friends. How about that SBF? I put out a poll because look at it. I caught wind on social media that there are a certain number of people that just kept popping up. People saying, yeah, well, of course, yes, SBF. Fine, he's been found guilty on 7 counts. Prison sentence going to be, well, he's not going to be sentenced until, what was the date? I think it was tentatively set for the later part of March. But anyway, so there's that, a sentence of potentially up to 110 years. But then I'm seeing people with this negative stuff saying, yeah, but he's just going to get a presidential pardon. Yeah, Biden's going to pardon him. I'm just, that's more of the stuff where I'm rolling my eyes. Oh my God. So everybody's entitled to their opinion. As it turns out, there are a ton of people that believe this. So I'm willing to bet that a lot of you listening believe this stuff. That's just my guess. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but and no offense, if you believe this, you're entitled to your position. I think you hold a crazy view. Like, to me, and if I'll eat my words. Look, I could be wrong. I'll eat my own words. I'll play this clip. I'll put it on my channel. I'll hunt it down. I'm like, you guys were right. I was the crazy one right now. I was the wrong one. I will do that, actually. But I think that you guys are going a bit far on this one. So I saw that some people were saying this stuff, but we also saw in the SEC v. Ripple case, people saying, oh, yeah, well, that Judge Torres, she's just a puppet for the masters out there. And she's not going to rule in favor of XRP holders or Ripple or so on and so forth, because she would have ruled by now. Why she waiting so long? I saw that crap. And then there are all the people that said that, SBF, he already paid off the politicians. He's not gonna spend a day in prison after this trial's over. Wrong on that front also. And then there's this. Will President Biden... I put out a poll on social media platform X. I wrote, will President Biden pardon SBF at some point? And the poll's still going. It's got a few more hours, but it's at the time I'm recording this, it's got 1,114 votes, which is a fair enough sample size for a non-scientific poll. But 38.7% of the respondents say yes. SBF is going to get a pardon from Biden. And 61.3% are on my side and say no. Oh my God. So I saw enough people writing this stuff on social media that I thought it would be a notable percentage. So to me, I don't know exactly what I would have guessed if I thought about it before putting this up. Maybe 10%, because that would sound really high to me. This is almost 40%. Are you kidding me? For why? Like, what is the lot? Can somebody that believes this articulate your position in the comment section below? I do want to know why you believe that this is plausible. I know it's technically possible, of course. Presidents, I get it. They pardon people who have shady pasts and done this or that. Okay, but you're talking about one of the most public cases in history. Stole literally billions of dollars. You know who else was connected? Bernie Madoff. He sure as hell wasn't ever going to get pardoned. It's going to be different with SBF. No, like, you don't just steal people's money, give it to politicians, and then the politicians think it'll be good for their career if they're if they're like supporting something. Like who would. And I understand Biden's at the end of his career, if you want to call it that. I get that, but do you really think that, knowing that in the public perception of SBF, he's gonna go out, one of his last acts, letting SBF out because what are the reasons? What does he get out of this? Because it's not the case. It's not the case that they'll. Because look, what's the damage if they don't? If Biden doesn't do it, how does that harm Biden? If you're talking about self-interest, because the theory is that there's some sort of self-interest for Biden if he's doing this. If he doesn't do it, is there harm to him? You would have to believe that there were funds given to the political party, in this case the Democrats, and specifically it benefited Biden's agenda. You'd have to actually believe that that was the reason that he'd let him out. But what? But there's no consequence if he doesn't, unless you think that in these meetings that he had with various politicians, that it wasn't just a conversation about various policy matters, but during these meetings with various politicians like Maxine Waters, and even met with Gary Gensler, pick whoever. I mean, he's a bureaucrat, but you get what I'm saying. You think that during these meetings, did SBF acquire some shady information about these individuals? That's absurd if you think that. So they're having a sit-down conversation about regulation, what would be good for FTX, this or that, and then they just these Democrat politicians and the bureaucrats like Gensler, they just lay out all their dirty laundry so that then they can be blackmailed by that. Is that how that works? Is that what you guys think? Do you think that makes sense? No, it does not make sense. None of this makes sense. It's not how any of this works. Oh my God. You guys are cute out there if you believe this. You're adorable. You know I love you, but I just... And everybody's entitled to their opinion. And look, if I'm wrong, I will humbly eat my own words, but it's over the top. I get it. Again, I see the point that sometimes people who probably shouldn't have been pardoned, they end up getting pardoned. Okay. So presidents have abused that. Fine. But SBF, with the public nature of that, to the tune of billions of dollars, and that's going to help Biden's party how? And there's going to be a consequence if he doesn't do it. How? Did anybody think through this at all? And look, if there's a good argument, maybe I didn't consider something. You know me, I'm open-minded. If you have a good argument, I will cede ground and be like, oh yeah, I hadn't considered that. So if you have an argument, you can go ahead. If it's just wild speculation, then I just got to put you in the camp of the people that said Judge Torres was a puppet, and the camp of people that said SBF won't be found guilty because he paid off the politicians. I got to put you in that camp unless you can articulate a cogent thought process as to why this actually makes sense. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I'm always willing to be persuaded. If you got something, drop in the comment section below. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.